Howdy folks, this is Checkers back again with another Skyrim Bedtime Story. Once again with our Argonian friend, Two-Handed Sleepbringer. And now if you're new to this video, the bedtime stories are made only for someone to listen to relax before bedtime, so it won't be very exciting. There will be no massive amounts of combat or other excitement, but just a quiet, peaceful walk in Skyrim with a little story to go along. So if you're looking for something a bit more exciting, you might want to check the cards in the upper right hand corner. You'll see a small letter I, and those cards will take you to my normal Skyrim playlist. Otherwise, let's get on with our story. Once upon a time in Skyrim, there was an Argonian warrior named Two-Handed Sleepbringer, and he walked along the banks of a river between a meadery and the town of Whiterun. Sleepbringer was a fairly accomplished warrior. He'd learned the ways of magic and might, of arms and arrows, of stealth and armor. And he'd used those skills to fairly effective degrees in all of his travels. Now, some of those travels, well, some were always a bit more exciting than others. But this story was something he hadn't expected. Everyone knew the tale of the Lusty Argonian, but very few knew the story of the Trusty Argonian. For once long ago, Two-Handed Sleepbringer had stayed at an inn in Riften. Now, when he went to sleep, he set one of his most prized possessions on the nightstand beside his bed. There, on the nightstand, was a ring not really of any significant magical power or value, but something that he'd carried from his first days as a warrior. Sleepbringer took it off and looked at it fondly as he drifted off into sleep. The hours passed, and the day dawned, and Sleepbringer awoke, gathered his things, and left the inn. It wasn't until much later in the day that Sleepbringer realized that he'd left his favorite ring behind. Now, this was quite distressing, and Sleepbringer turned to head back towards Riften and the inn. But at that very moment, a dragon roared in the sky above and circled on massive wings. The sound of the air rushed through the sky, and the dragon cast a shadow large and fast over the ground. Sleepbringer looked around quickly. He could have run, but there were villagers farming nearby, and he knew they wouldn't be safe with the dragon in the air. So Sleepbringer removed his axe from its scabbard and stood before the dragon's assault. The dragon descended from the sky and hit the ground with a mighty thud. Dust and rocks kicked up, clattering off Sleepbringer's armor. But still he stood, a shield between the dragon and the defenseless. The dragon reared and breathed an icy breath, meant to make Sleepbringer freeze in his tracks. But Sleepbringer dodged to the side, found shelter behind a rock, and clasped his axe tightly to his chest. After a moment, the breath subsided, and Sleepbringer could hear the dragon beating its wings, trying to lift its ponderous body back into the sky. He dashed out around the rock, this time to the other side, and cleaved a gigantic blow at the dragon's right side. The dragon howled in pain and beat its wings ever harder, trying to lift into the sky. Sleepbringer got in 2 more furious blows, and then the dragon was airborne. The villagers, seeing the great battle before them, ran to take shelter wherever they could, and Sleepbringer scanned the skies, following the dragon as it spun in circles and looked for a means of attack. Hearing the scream of one of the villagers, Sleepbringer turned, and it was at just this moment that the dragon descended upon him, not landing, but blasting forth once more with that mighty and icy breath. Sleepbringer was taken in the side, and it hurt quite a bit. Sleepbringer, however, ran to the aid of the villager, who'd been trapped underneath a cart, toppled when the last time the dragon landed. Lifting the cart from the villager's leg, Sleepbringer freed her to run for shelter, and Sleepbringer rifled through his pockets, trying to see the dragon above. But he couldn't. So he found the vial, one to heal and one to defend against the frost of the dragon's breath. Sleepbringer drank his draughts and stood once more, just in time to see the dragon landing close nearby, his eyes unprotected, filled with dust. Sleepbringer had to once more retreat, this time behind one of the villagers' houses. Sleepbringer was grateful that the dragon's breath was frost and not fire, because the breath once more bathed the shelter behind him. But the sturdy house of Skyrim withstood the blast of the dragon's breath, and Sleepbringer was safe for the time. Once more the dragon's breath stopped, and once more Sleepbringer ran out. The dragon was in the process of rearing its head to strike, but Sleepbringer ran beneath the head and struck at the very breast of the dragon. Blow after blow resounded off the scaly hide, and the dragon first roared and then yowled as if in great pain. It backed away from Sleepbringer, no longer looking to attack, but only looking to flee. Sleepbringer, however, had other plans. He ran up the tail of the mighty beast, raised his axe high, and drove it down into the spine of the dragon, severing it, cutting off the brain from the blood and the dragon from life. The mighty body shuddered to earth and breathed a final, rattling breath. Light enveloped the dragon, and Sleepbringer was caught up in that light. It swirled from the dragon and flowed into Sleepbringer, another soul added to the warrior's cache. the villagers came out to thank Sleepbringer, to tell him that they were grateful for his kindness, for his bravery, and for his defense. He put a hand gently on their shoulders. Without saying a word, he nodded, returned his axe to its scabbard, and walked away. His ring was still missing, and Riften was close by. He walked the remaining distance, nodded to the guards who'd tried to bribe him once before, and was immediately led into the city. Inside the city were the familiar faces of Riften, but Sleepbringer had a mission: to find that ring, the ring of his youth. He went to the inn and up the stairs and to the bed where he'd stayed. The bed was made, the nightstand cleared, and nothing remained of the ring. He asked the innkeeper if there was any news of the ring, but there was nothing, and in Riften, Sleepbringer was not terribly surprised. But life went on. Ring or no ring, he would always have the memory, and he was glad that he'd stopped to save the villagers. Sleepbringer left the inn and turned to leave Riften. He passed through the gates, seeing the surprised look on the guards' faces, wondering why he'd come for such a short time. And just as he passed the stable, he heard a voice call out, "Argonian, countryman, wait." An Argonian maid ran after Sleepbringer. She held something glittering in her hand. She said, Sir, you left this and you slept here last night. I didn't know if I could find you, but I was determined to try. I'd almost given up when a villager came in from the farms and said that a brave warrior had saved them from certain doom. I knew then that it could only be one of my countrymen, an Argonian. And I knew that you'd return. I'm sorry that I missed you at the inn, but I have something for you now. Here is your ring. Sleepbringer was taken aback, surprised beyond all measure, because this was not the reputation of Riften. But, you see, even in the strangest of places, you can always find a trusty Argonian. This, then, is our story for the night. And now, it's time to sleep. Thank you all for joining Two-Handed Sleepbringer and myself on this journey. I hope you rest well, and I hope you enjoyed the story. Good night, my friends. Take care.